Happy Mother's Day, everyone who's a mom or a mom in form especially. If you've ever had those. I particularly liked this one. I often find that people will use the Proverbs like 32 or 33 section for Mother's Day, which is like this impossible standard. It's always nice to shoot, it's like shoot for the stars, and even if you miss, you'll land on the moon or land pretty high anyway. But wow. But I like this one because it talks about how moms can influence us, really. When he says, I am reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice. Which, by the way, are like grandmother names, aren't they? You don't hear the names Lois and Eunice much anymore. And it reminds me that faith is not really born in a vacuum. It is handed down to us. It's lived in those who raise us. And Timothy's story reminds us that mothers, biological or not, are often the first theologians we encounter. I hear a lot of language nowadays, even from some of my friends, so it's pretty wide-reaching, about how I don't need religion to tell me what's right and what's wrong. I know what's right and what's wrong. And I keep wondering where does that, and their argument is that, well, it's just in every human being. We all know it. Do we? Do we innately know that kind of stuff? And how could you even prove that? Because we're not born in a vacuum. We are surrounded by people who are teaching us these things, who are modeling these things, who are writing TV shows, who are teaching these things, or movies that teach these things. How do you know that it's innate? These things that just kind of are always around us, and the things that are teaching us and informing us, and the first among those is our moms. They're the ones who teach us those simple lessons, either intentionally or unintentionally. Maybe singing a hymn or saying a prayer while folding laundry, or standing in the kitchen with a teenager saying, yeah, you can beat your head against a brick wall too. Or maybe it's just in the way that moms comfort. To the point where God even takes that on as a metaphor. As a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. Think about who in your life first taught you love, courage, or resilience, even if it wasn't through some kind of overt or religious practice. Unfortunately, there is kind of this myth of the perfect mom going around too. You hear a lot of complaining about things parents have done to children, or have seemed to have done. They have taken the word trauma to the wrong level and really just minimized it for people who really have gone through trauma. But there's no such thing as a perfect mom. There's just no such thing. Paul doesn't praise Eunice for perfection. He honors the sincerity of her faith. And mothers don't need to be flawless saints to be formative. They were and are human, just like everybody. To blame a mom for being human would, as if they weren't supposed to be. As if they didn't have their own lives and stresses and fears. My mom was legendary for two things among my friends. The first was her temper. And her second was her ability to detect dirt from the other side of the house. My friends called it dirt radar. She was meticulous. One of my favorite stories the one time that I was left alone for of the weekend, I was given the instruction that I was to have nobody in the house. So at that time, I was waiting tables, and I came home from work, and my friend Rick, who lived right across the street, saw that I was home and came over, and we were going to go out, and I said, I really need to shower first. And so as I'm getting in the shower, he does one of these things. He's sitting in the room that nobody is supposed to sit in. Remember those rooms? And he says, what is this thing anyway? And I'm like, I don't know. It's one of my mom's knickknacks. Just put it down. He goes, okay. And he sets it down. The weekend passes. My mom comes home. And within 30 seconds says, how was the party? I said, what are you talking about? Well, someone must have been in the house because this was here. Now, my mom had to raise 3 boys. Okay, so, and we were absolute wild things. My oldest brother put it perfectly at one point. He says, there are some times I just remember violence. And, we never, ever responded to her arrival home as though she might have had a bad day at work. Or that she might have things on her mind. We were just on her about how one of us had done something to the other and needed to be appropriately beaten. Never once take into account that she might just want to sit down for 5 minutes. So if she flew off the handle on occasion, which was probably deserved by all of us, I don't blame her for that, especially now, being fully grown and knowing the kind of days I have sometimes. And she didn't learn all of that in a vacuum. She was raised by her mom, and her mom was the one who taught her clean the house. Keep it neat and tidy. And if we messed any of it up, we were in trouble. Because that meant more work for her. And we even have examples in the scriptures that even Jesus' own family wasn't exactly perfect. I mean, think about it. He's 12 years old. They've gone to Jerusalem for the festival, and then Joseph and Mary walk away for 3 days, not even wondering where Jesus was, for 3 days. Only to go back and find him at the temple. And then there's one time in Mark where everybody gets him and just says, we'll take him with us. Don't mind him. He's lost his senses. And yet Mary stays with him at the cross. Faithful love is not always neat and perfect. Faithful love endures. It's also foolish to think that there weren't mothers who were just hard on their kids, or mean to them, or abusive, whether emotionally or physically or mentally. There are those who have complicated and painful relationships with their mothers, but there's still a way to honor that without pretending or idealizing. And I learned that most from Dawn's mom, who had an abusive childhood. And she built up her own defenses, wore them like armor, wielded it like a sword. But it's what she had to do to survive her own mother. And through the years, wasn't exactly the model for her grandma all the time either. And at her eulogy this week, I said, she was suffering from dementia, vascular dementia, and it is a brutal thing, and it's a hard thing to go through for families. And we were talking with the lady who ran the adult foster care that she was living at, and said that she didn't know how many times people have said, "That's not my mom," or "That's not my dad" anymore. And for Dawn's mom, that was a blessing, because she was able to forget the wounds that made her put on the armor, that made her so hard and critical and judgmental. She was able to let them go, and for the last 5 years, Dawn got to have a relationship with her mom that she'd always wanted. But to judge her mom for whatever she did throughout Dawn's youth and childhood and throughout our married years, before the disease set in, is not respecting the fact that she was deeply wounded herself and didn't know any other way. And being able to come to this place to understand those wounds and those limitations and those silent little sacrifices can be free for those who had those experiences too. Sometimes they don't have choices. I mean, think about Moses' mom. What strength did it take to risk Moses in the river, as opposed to the other option, which was to lose him completely? Or Hagar in Genesis, who is a mother that has been cast out, but is still seen and comforted by God. Or Ruth and Naomi, who weren't even mother and biological daughter, but behaved as such. Honoring our mothers doesn't mean pretending. It means being grateful for what was good, even if it was wrapped in pain. And sometimes, as I've said before, we can learn the right way by seeing people doing it the wrong way. It means recognizing that God can mother us through many people in many ways. Paul was telling Timothy that he thanks God for the faith of Lois and Eunice, which is in the gift of God, which is in Timothy. And we can do that too. Whatever your mother gave, or whatever my mother gave, or failed to give, the truth is that you now carry a flame. A legacy, if you will. And what you do with it is up to you. You might have received only a little flicker, or maybe a roaring fire, or maybe a hot temper. You never know. But not the neatness part. I did not get that part, if you're wondering. Whatever you have inherited, it's your turn to nurture it and bless the next generation. Motherhood is not about perfection, but presence. It's not about always getting it right, but showing up, which I will tell you right now that my mom did. I don't think she missed a game. I mean, I did 3 sports with her. I don't think she missed a game or a track meet. I don't think she missed a choir concert or a band concert or a play or an awards night or whatever it was. She was always there. And sometimes, even if I wasn't sure she was there, all of my friends notified me because you could hear her from the stands. Remember one time, sitting in a huddle, you hear this, "Go Scotty!" And the quarterback walks up and goes, "Hey, Scott, your mom says go." But motherhood's not about biology alone. It's about nurturing, right? It's about nurturing what's good and strong and true in all of us. Whether our moms were biological or neighbors or grandmas or aunts or whomever might have come across us. Nurturing in those things, being civil and polite, and most important, I think, to my mother, being couth. I don't know how many times she said, "You are so uncouth." Well, I'm couth now, Mom. So whatever your experience on this Mother's Day, even if Mom is gone, there are ways to honor them. Write a note to them. Light a candle. Or maybe you would be the spiritual mother or mentor to someone who needs it. So happy Mother's Day, moms and mom figures out there. Thank you from all of us ungrateful brats. Amen.